Hello friends, welcome to Manu Law Classes. मेरा नाम गौतम दीक्षित है. Today in this video we are going to discuss the important news from the Hindu edition of 19th April 2023. Some of the important news which we are going to do today is about the heat waves. ये हम देखेंगे editorial page पे. Okay, and then there is one issue about the urban local bodies elections in Nagaland. That is also one of the important issue. And then Yemen crisis, which is moving towards resolution. That is also important from the exam point of view. Along with that, we are also going to discuss the oil trade from Russia, where there is a report that India and China, they have bought the Russian oil above the $60 per barrel, which was the price cap put by the Western countries on the Russian oil. So let's start with the news. The first news, two news from the Supreme Court. The first is about the same-sex union. Supreme Court to see if Special Marriage Act can be deemed gender neutral. So यहाँ पे if you will see that the Constitution Bench, which is headed by Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud, they were responding to Centre's argument that the laws related to marriage, which also include the Special Marriage Act, they have recognized only heterosexual marriages between a biological man and biological woman. Now, in response to this, the Supreme Court has said that there was no absolute concept of man or an absolute concept of woman, and the gender was far more complex than the one genitals. Okay, then coming to the government stand, that senior advocate Mukul Rohatgi, who is leading the argument for petitioners who are seeking the legal recognition for the same-sex marriage through a broader reading of the Special Marriage Act. Okay, so they are saying that this can be done by interpreting the Special Marriage Act as gender neutral. Okay, the next is it's Bilkis today, it can be anybody tomorrow, says the Supreme Court. So यहाँ पे अगर आप देखेंगे that Supreme Court on March 27 earlier had directed the center and state government to be ready with relevant files regarding the grant of remission. तो ये remission किसको मिला है? ये remission मिला है 11 लोगों को, those who were convicted for life imprisonment in बिल्किस बानो केस. अब यहाँ पे जो प्रॉब्लम है वो प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि जो रेमिशन दिया है वो गुजरात गवर्नमेंट ने दिया है. द रेमिशन हैज बीन गिवन बाय गुजरात गवर्नमेंट. ओके, गुजरात गवर्नमेंट. बट जो ट्रायल चला था वो चला था महाराष्ट्र में. ठीक है, ट्रायल जो चला था वो चला था महाराष्ट्र में. सो नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज दैट वेदर द गुजरात गवर्नमेंट वाज द एप्रोप्रिएट गवर्नमेंट टू गिव रेमिशन. दैट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकेंड थिंग इज दैट सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो पूछा है वो ये है कि ऑन व्हाट ग्राउंड द रेमिशन वाज गिवन टू दिस 11 कन्विक्ट्स ऑफ लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट इन बिल्किस बानो केस. सो इन दैट sense the Supreme Court has said that it's Bilkis today, it can be anybody tomorrow. So here the Supreme Court में जो जस्टिस हैं, जस्टिस KM जोसेफ, he is asking the question. देखिए क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, that what were the standards you applied for the remission, कि इन्हें जो रेमिशन मिला है वो किस स्टैंडर्ड पे मिला हुआ है. The next is very important. India Russia agree to deepen trade and economic relations. सो इंडिया एंड रशिया, यहाँ का जो एक कमीशन है वो कमीशन काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसका नाम काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है. दैट इज़ इंडिया रशिया इंटर गवर्नमेंटल कमीशन ऑन ट्रेड, इकोनॉमिक, साइंटिफिक एंड टेक्नोलॉजिकल एंड कल्चरल कोऑपरेशन, विच इज़ ऑल्सो नोन एज IRIGC TEC. So this meeting, it was co-chaired by two people. One is Denis Manturov, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, and if you will see, Minister of Trade and Industry from Russia, and also the External Affairs Minister as Jay Shankar. So if you will see over here, so both the sides, they reviewed the entire gamut of bilateral trade and economic relationship, and they have agreed to work together to unlock its full potential. उसके बाद there are two issues which have been discussed. One is trade deficit and the next is market access issue. Then the next thing which has been discussed is about the issue of payments in bilateral trade that had deepened in the backdrop of Western sanctions on Russia. तो यहाँ पे क्या है कि जब से वेस्टर्न सैंक्शंस लगे हैं रशिया के ऊपर, तो रशिया हैज़ बीन आउटसाइड ऑफ स्विफ्ट सिस्टम. ओके, Society for Worldwide International Financial Telecommunications, SWIFT system. So India and Russia, they are looking at the alternatives. One of the alternatives is rupee-ruble trade. Okay, but since India has a trade deficit with Russia, so what is happening over here is that this इसमें भी थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है. So there has been a payment issues between Russia and India also. The next is National Investigation Agency takes over Kozhikode train arson case and invokes UAPA section in the FIR. So यहाँ पे न्यूज़ क्या है कि जब नेशनल इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसी इसने जो कोझिकोड आर्सन केस था जहाँ पे इनफ्लेमेबल लिक्विड यूज़ किया गया था, नाउ दैट केस हैज़ बीन टेकन ओवर बाय द नेशनल इन्वेस्टिगेशन टीम, ये एजेंसी। अब ये हुआ कैसे, तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने आर्सन को एज अ शेड्यूल्ड ऑफेंस रिकॉग्नाइज किया है नेशनल इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसी एक्ट 2008 में। सो आफ्टर दैट नेशनल इन्वेस्टिगेशन एजेंसी हैज़ टेकन द केस। सो यहाँ पर आप देखेंगे दैट यहाँ पे जो NIA है वो प्रूव क्या करेगी, द ग्रेविटी ऑफ द ऑफेंस एंड इट्स रेमिफिकेशन ऑन नेशनल सिक्योरिटी। Then if you will see that using the inflammable liquid for arson, that it is a now it is covered under section 16 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act 1967. Now what is the issue, यहाँ पे actually हुआ क्या था, so it can take from here to here to remember the issue. So if you will see that Alappuzha Kandur Executive Express है, ओके, उसके D1 कोच में अप्रैल 12 तारीख को 9 बजे जो शाहरुख सैफी हैं, ही poured some inflammable liquid on passengers, okay, while the train was on Korapuza bridge after crossing the station, and he has set the train on fire. The next is from space. ISRO plans to launch Telios 2 on April 22. So the Indian Space Research Organization, it will launch Singapore's Telios 2 satellite on April 22 from the Satish Dhawan Space Center. It will be done by Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, which is also called as workhorse of ISRO. Okay, so 2015 में earlier ISRO had launched Telios 1, which is the first Singapore commercial Earth observation satellite, and it was launched in low Earth orbit for remote sensing application. ओके, तो अभी तक इसरो ने सिंगापुर से 9 सैटेलाइट जो है वो लॉन्च करेगी। नाउ कमिंग टू ट्रैजिक फेलियर। सो यहाँ पे अगर आप देखेंगे, सो गवर्नमेंट मस्ट प्रिपेयर पीपल टू डील विद एक्सट्रीम वेदर इवेंट्स, दैट इज द न्यूज़। सो यहाँ पे महाराष्ट्र में हुआ था कि एक इवेंट था और वहाँ पे हीट स्ट्रेस की वजह से 13 लोगों की का डेथ हो गया and 18 others they have been hospitalized, which have been termed as very unfortunate event. So यहाँ पे अगर आप देखेंगे that जो न्यूज़ रिपोर्ट्स जो कह रही हैं, that news report said that individuals, especially police personnel, were scrambling to bring drinking water to those in distress and to carry them on motorcycles for medical assistance. Now what are the things where we should look for dealing with the heat waves? So incorporating the local factors, okay. तो यहाँ पर अगर आप देखेंगे दैट देयर वाज अ लोकल, वी हैव टू इम्प्रूव द लोकल फैक्टर्स फोरकास्टिंग फॉर डीलिंग विद हीट वेव्स. So many places in India, they are likely to have a large political event before an official weather station, and this together with the rapid onset of India's heat crisis, so it puts the spotlight on how we are managing the heat stress. ओके, तो यहाँ पर अगर आप देखेंगे कि देयर इज अ क्लाइमेट रिलेटेड इनजस्टिस, सो देयर इज अ परसिस्टेंस ऑफ कंडीशंस इन विच सम पीपल आर एट द मर्सी ऑफ देयर एम्प्लॉयर्स और देयर लीडर्स. सो जब तक ये इम्बैलेंस होगा रिलेशनशिप में, ओके, सो दिस टाइप ऑफ इवेंट्स विल टेक प्लेस एज इट हैज टेकन प्लेस इन महाराष्ट्र. ओके, एंड देन जो हीट एक्शन प्लान्स या हीट अलर्ट्स हैं, दे कैन बी ऑफ ओनली लिमिटेड बेनिफिट. तो यहाँ पे क्या है कि इंडिया को फोकस कहाँ पे करना चाहिए. So India must work towards becoming a country in which every individual is equipped with climate literacy sufficient to know why higher temperature plus higher relative humidity or dehydration poses the risk on injury and death. The next is there should be ability to access cool and clean drinking water, ventilated shelter, lodging and affordable emergency medical care. Now coming to the future of Indian civil society. ओके, तो यहाँ पे इंडियन सिविल सोसाइटी के बारे में डिस्कशन हुआ है. सो द आर्टिकल पुट्स द हाइलाइट्स ऑन द करंट स्टेटस ऑफ द इंडियन सिविल सोसाइटी. सो इफ यू विल सी दैट सिविल सोसाइटी का जो इम्पोर्टेंस होता है, फॉर एग्जांपल प्री लेजिस्लेटिव स्टेज और द रिड्रेसल ऑफ लैकूने इन द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स. फॉर एग्जांपल सिविल सोसाइटी पीपल, सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, दे वर्क डायरेक्टली विद पीपल. ओके, सो दे ऑलरेडी नो दैट व्हाट पीपल आर एक्सपेक्टिंग और what people are experiencing. ओके, तो अगर आप देख सकते हैं दे आर टूल फॉर डेमोक्रेटाइजिंग द डेवलपमेंट एक्चुअली. तो जैसे कि मान लीजिए कि कोई लॉ बन रहा है, सो सिविल सोसाइटी दे कैन प्रोवाइड द इनपुट that what people are expecting from certain law. For example, अगर आप देखोगे राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन एक्ट इंडिया में, it was this movement for right to information was purely led by civil society. Then if some programs are being implemented, so what people are experiencing, any problem over there, how it can be overcome, so इसमें भी because they are directly working with people, so this problem can be redressed. But if you will see civil society जो है, now they are facing a प्रॉब्लम. अगर बहुत हम जानते हैं कि बहुत सारे सिविल सोसाइटीज़ का जो लाइसेंस है वो कैंसिल किया जा चुका है अंडर फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन रेगुलेशन एक्ट. देन रिवोकिंग ऑफ 12A और ATG लाइसेंसेस, देन रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव टैक्सेस एंड प्रेशरिंग द प्राइवेट कंपनीज एंड फिलॉन्थ्रोपीज टू रीडायरेक्ट देयर फंडिंग. तो एक फंडिंग का यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम है. ओके, सो यहाँ पे अगर आप देखेंगे दैट कुछ प्रॉब्लम इन्होंने सिविल सोसाइटी का भी बताया हुआ है. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू विल सी ओवर हियर दैट प्रोग्रेसिव CSOs दे फेल टू ब्लेंड सोशियो कल्चरल वैल्यूज with welfare or constructive work or calls to protect constitutional values. So what is happening over here, that they are unable to reshape hearts and minds and thereby guide mass consciousness. That is one of the problem. The next is, if you will see, that lack of finance. Okay, lack of finance is also one of the problem faced by civil society movements in India. Then second, that if there is no sustained support to youth, so definitely they are not going to work with civil society organizations, or it can happen that their ability to shape policy will be diminished. Then if you will see that they have very less number of options, some progressives they will migrate to safer avenues, others may limit the scope of their work, or still they may realign with the BJP, that is the ruling party. Now what is required to be done? So the first is that CSOs will need to urgently collaborate with other progressive stakeholders. Then some civil society stakeholders, okay, they would argue against this, but they can continue raising funds and attracting global attention when harassed. Then if you will see that private philanthropies and companies, they need to realize that they are the only lifeline for progressive CSO today. The next is a judgment that upholds the constitution. So there are certain judgments which we are going to discuss in this article. So the first one is Media One case. Name of the judgment is Madhyaman Broadcasting Limited Media One Headquarter versus Union of India and others. यहाँ पे जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट है, it is a landmark judgment on freedom of expression and it is a judicial fiat against seal cover malpractices. The other highlight of this judgment is that it endorses the citizens' right to question the state by distinguishing the government from the nation. That is the first thing. Second is that Anoop Baranwal versus Union of India case. This is the another landmark judgment. So यहाँ पे क्या हुआ है? The Supreme Court has now suggested that the appointment of Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner will be done by the President based on the recommendation of a panel which will consist of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, okay, and then CJI. Then there is one more important case, KS Puttaswamy versus Union of India case, which was dealing with the challenges of the Aadhaar project related to privacy. So Supreme Court has expounded the idea of privacy and related concepts at the doctrinal level. But here the Supreme Court has not provided any direct and immediate counter with the executive. Now अगर हम मीडिया वन केस देखें तो यहाँ पे जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट है, इट हैज़ डायरेक्टली कन्फ्रंटेड द सेंटर. यहाँ पे सेंटर ने क्या किया था कि इसने मीडिया वन का जो लाइसेंस है वो कैंसिल कर दिया था ऑन द ग्राउंड ऑफ नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एंड डायरेक्टेड इट टू रिन्यू द लाइसेंस. ओके, सो विच वॉज रिस्टोर्ड बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट. द नेक्स्ट इज नागालैंड म्यूनिसिपल टाइट रोप. सो यहाँ पे अगर हम देखें, इफ यू विल सी दैट नागालैंड जो है, इट इज़ द ओनली स्टेट वेयर urban local body seats are not reserved for women as mandated by clause 4 of the 74th amendment to the Constitution of India. So if you will see the 73rd amendment and 74th amendment to the Constitution of India, women are to be provided with 33% reservation in rural local bodies and urban local bodies. But यहाँ पे article एक 371A है of the Constitution which is related to special provisions to Nagaland. So some of the people in Nagaland, they argue that this reservation violate the special provisions granted by Article 371A of the Constitution of Nagaland. Now how it says that? So if you will see the Article 371A, it says that no act of parliament would apply to the religious or social practices of the Nagas, Naga customary law and procedure, administration of civil and criminal justice involving decisions according to Naga customary law. So here, if you will see that Naga customary law will prevail over the law of parliament in all these issues. ओके, यहाँ पे हुआ कि जो नागालैंड में जो पिछली बार जो इलेक्शन हुआ था वो 2004 में हुआ था विदाउट एनी रिजर्वेशन ऑफ सीट्स फॉर वुमेन. देन the 2001 Municipal Act was amended in 2006 to include 33% reservation for women. So there was the opposition against this amendment. Okay. Now if you will see that Article 243T of the Constitution is related to the reservation for women. Now if you will see that what is the way forward. So the groups against reservation for women, they want a guarantee that 33% quota would not violate the provisions of Article 371A. But if you will see that on April 17th, the Supreme Court has pulled up the Nagaland government for adopting an ingenious method of repealing the Municipal Act to evade the undertaking given to the court for holding the polls. तो यहाँ पे नागालैंड ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कहा था कि that yes, they will provide 33% reservation, but they have not provided yet. So the Supreme Court has noted that nothing has so far emerged to advance a plea that religious or social practices of Nagas or Naga customary law and procedure denies the right to equality to women. Now coming to the Yemen, what are the latest developments in Yemen? So if you will see Yemen या Yemen crisis जब हम देखते हैं, so over here there are two things. एक तो है Houthi rebels which are supported by Iran, and then we have government forces. Houthi rebels and government forces. ठीक है. So यहाँ पे ये है कि that hundreds of prisoners they were captured during the war in Yemen. Now they have been reunited with their families between April 14 and 16. Okay. So यहाँ पे अगर हम देखेंगे कि that there is one Stockholm Agreement. So what is the Stockholm Agreement? So the warring parties who are in control of Yemen, they had signed the Stockholm Agreement in 2018 where they agreed to free the conflict related detainees. So यहाँ पे अब क्या हुआ कि मार्च में two opposing sides they had in March agreed to release 887 detainees after a 10-day meeting in Switzerland. अब अगर हम देखेंगे यूनाइटेड नेशंस का रिपोर्ट, so according to UN, Yemen is now the largest humanitarian crisis in the world with 80% of its population dependent on aid and protection. Now the next is, how did the war in Yemen begin? So it all began in 2011 as the part of the Arab Spring protest. तो यहाँ पे जो प्रेसिडेंट अली अब्दुल्ला साले थे, he was forced to hand over power to his deputy Abdurrabud Mansour Hadi, and Hadi found himself faced with an task of tackling Yemen's economic and security problems. उसके बाद जो Houthis थे, were backed by Iran. They took the advantage of this instability in Yemen, okay, and they captured the Sada province in north and Sana'a capital in 2014. उसके बाद Saudi Arabia then led a coalition that included other Arab countries and sent troops to Yemen in 2015, but they have been unable to remove Houthis from Sana'a. So the war has continued since then, and it has only ceased in April 2022 when the Houthis and Saudi-led coalition announced a 2-month ceasefire ahead of Ramzan. The next is deadline for Aadhaar-based payment under MGNREGS extended till June 30. So यहाँ पे Union Government, okay. So the Manrega is a scheme which comes under Union Rural Development Ministry. So it has said there is one system which is called as Aadhaar-based payment system, which covers 80% of the employees, 80% of the workers, but 20% of them are excluded. Some of the workers who are not adapt with the banking system. So यहाँ पे जो डेडलाइन था इसका वो 31st March था. Now it has been extended to June 30 for workers who mandatorily use the Aadhaar-based payment system for receiving wages. The next is Murugan's Fire fails to enter International Booker shortlist. So this is very important. Tamil writer Perumal Murugan, उनका एक नॉवल है Pocozi, which was translated to English by Anirudh Vasudevan. Now it is known as Fire. So earlier it was made the part of International Booker Prize 2023 shortlist, okay, long list, okay. But उसके बाद जो अगला जो प्रोसेस होता है नॉमिनेशन का, that is International Booker shortlist, it has failed to enter the International Booker shortlist. Now this is the book that is Pocozi, which was translated into English, that is Fire. by Aniruddhan Vasudevan. और ये जो novel है, it discusses the intercaste marriage. Okay, so it discusses the casteism that destroys the life of intercaste couple Kumara Sen and Saroja. The next is the Jal Shakti Ministry's National Mission for Clean Ganga has cleared the 8 projects worth rupees 638 crore. Now the 8 projects which it includes are cleanup of the Hindon River, tributary of Yamuna. Okay, so it will comprise of rupees 407.39 crore. Then pollution abatement in Shamli district, Uttar Pradesh. Then the project will stem the flow of polluted water into the Krishna River. Then there is also a project for the development of 7 ghats in Prayagraj. Then sewage treatment projects approved, 1 each in Bihar and Madhya Pradesh. Then Akhand Param Dham Ghat development project in Haridwar in Uttarakhand. Now this is important. Pakistani court has ruled that a Chinese national arrested on blasphemy charges be held in jail for 2 weeks pending trial. So under Pakistan's controversial blasphemy laws, anyone convicted of blasphemy can be sentenced to death. Then the next is Russia's parliament increases penalty for treason and terrorism. So the lower house of Russia's parliament on Tuesday, they have approved legislation increasing the punishment for treason to life imprisonment and boosting the penalty for terrorism. Now, Russian court confirms U.S. reporter's detention. So, U.S. reporter who was already detained earlier, Ivan Gershkovich. So, Moscow court ने rejected an appeal from U.S. journalist to be freed from pre-trial detention. Okay, so now he is under detention in Russia now. The next is anger in Kiev as Putin visits Ukraine frontline regions. So definitely, some of the regions which has been visited. So अब ये तो एक dispute तो चल ही रहा है, okay, but now visit of Putin in the frontline regions of Ukraine, now it has raised the red flag in this crisis. The next is Sudan crisis. So Sudan's capital hit by blast as conflict enters the 4th day. So if you will see that after 2021 coup, so there is a fight between two forces. One is Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, okay, and then Mohammad Hamdan Daglo, who commands the paramilitary rapid support force. तो इन दोनों के बीच में लड़ाई चल रही है that who will gain the power after the 2021 coup, now which has engulfed the Sudan capital Khartoum. The next is Indian climbers rescued from Mount Annapurna, which is in Nepal. So 2 Indians who are prominent women climber, Baljeet Kaur and then Arjun Vajpayee, who became the youngest Indian to climb Mount Everest in 2010. So they have been rescued from Mount Annapurna in Nepal. Now Baljeet Kaur, she has scaled the world's 10th highest peak without using supplemental oxygen. She went missing near Camp 4 while descending from the summit. Then Indian climber Arjun Vajpayee, he was rescued from 6,800 meters. The next is India-China snap up Russian oil in April above price cap. तो यहाँ पे जो वेस्टर्न प्राइस कैप है रशियन ऑयल पे, दैट इज $60 per barrel. So यहाँ पे India and China, they have bought this Russian oil above this $60 per barrel rupees. So India, it accounts for more than 70% of seaborne supplies of the Ural grade so far, and China is next 20%. The next is Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, opens Apple first India store in Mumbai. So Apple Inc ने अपना पहला रिटेल स्टोर जो है वो इंडिया में खोला है. कहाँ पे? Geo Center, Bandra Kurla Complex, Mumbai, to solidify its base in this region, that is South Asia region. The second store will come in Saket in Delhi on April 20th. Okay, तो इस स्टोर का जो फीचर है that it features more than 100 team members who collectively speak over 20 languages and they can cater to customers from all around the world. So friends, that's all for today. We will meet tomorrow again with a daily Hindu analysis. Till then, have a nice time. Take care. Thank you.